Hi everybody, this is Cassie with Northwoods Pilates, and today we're going to jump into March MATness, which is a celebration of Joseph Pilates' original 34 mat exercises. So I'll present some variations as we go along, but we're going to get right into it. So start on your back for the 100. I'd curl up into that upper ab curl and you're going to start to pump the arms. So hundreds is a warm-up exercise. We're doing pumps of the arms up to 100 counts. Meant to really warm up the body. We're going to alter the leg position. You could start with the legs down, you could have them up at tabletop. You're really just going to find the position that's called your working level. So where you get the most work out of the exercise, but still being able to keep good control of those core muscles. So you could do legs up to the ceiling or down to 45 degrees. Any of these positions, you can choose to stay there and hold in that position. If your head bothers you, neck bothers you, just lay the head back down. The final position being here, eyes and toes at the same level. Once you finish your 100 beats, you're going to come all the way down. We're going to get ready for roll up. So a slightly easier variation of roll up is with the legs bent. You're going to dig those heels into the ground and you're going to try to round the spine forward. Each roll up will be a little bit better than the last one. You're going to kind of start to smooth out those jerky motions. If you feel like you can't roll up here, you could put on a pair of shoes. That could help weight down the feet, or you could even tuck the feet underneath like the edge of a couch. Just anything to give that little bit of extra pressure down into the ankles as your upper half of the body does that basically kind of a sit-up motion. Now, a more advanced version of the roll-up is with straight legs. So if you're feeling like the bent leg version is too easy for you, you can try a straight leg variation. You're going to round all the way forward and then just roll down through your spine. Your goal is to get every single one of those vertebrae to touch the floor at one moment until you roll all the way back down and find that neutral spine again on the mat. So that curling forward, inhale halfway up, exhale to stretch, and then roll your spine back down and exhaling. Last one here. So traditional variation, you're going to do 5 to 8 of those roll-ups. We're going to go right into rollover, which is a very advanced exercise. You're going to want to make sure you have a little bit of room behind you. Arms are going to be down. You're going to roll back, tap those toes down to touch the floor, open the legs, flex the feet, and then come all the way back down. Legs hug together, point the toes to roll over. Down, open the legs, flex the feet. You're going to do 3 like this, and then you're just going to switch the leg position on the next one. So as you roll back and over, your legs are going to stay apart. The feet are doing the same movement. Now, if rollover is too advanced, there are other exercises you could do in its place, like jackknife, or if you have something you can hold on to with those arms overhead, like the edge of a couch, that can help to give you a little bit of that extra support as well. Good. After rollover, we're going to come all the way to straight, flat body and do our single leg circles. So for single leg circle, one leg is anchoring down. The other leg is drawing nice big circles, 5 in one direction and then 5 in the other direction. If it's uncomfortable to have that leg that's not moving straight, you could always do a little bend of the knee. We'll scissor kick and switch sides and do 5 single leg circles on the other side. That active leg has a little bit of a point in the toes, and the resting leg has a little bit of a flex in the foot. Nice big circles there. And then hug the leg in. We'll rock up to seated and do our rolling like a ball. The first rolling exercise, easier variation, you're going to have the hands back behind the backs of the legs. That just gives you a little bit more space to work with. You're going to inhale to roll back and exhale to come back up to find that seated up on the sits bones position. Ideally, your feet are going to hover above the ground and you're keeping that rounded spine the whole time. A little more advanced, if you want more of a challenge, you can take those hands to your shins. This is just going to force your body to be a little tighter in and make the curling a little bit more challenging. For rolling like a ball, we're going to do 8. Inhale back, exhale back up. We'll transition into that single leg stretch. You're going to roll down to your upper ab curl, hug one knee in, and then the other. 5 on each leg. Inhale and exhale. Drawing the leg in, giving it a nice big stretch. Good. And then both legs together for double leg stretch. You're going to keep that curl. Those arms reach back, but the head does not. Inhale back, exhale around 5 times total. Good. Hug one leg, come up to seated. We'll get ready for spine stretch. So for spine stretch, you can keep a little bend in the knees here if that makes it a little easier. You're going to round your spine forward and then stack tall. Notice that the spine is rounding here. So the point is not to hinge at the hips and see how far forward you can get, but more to get that C curve or that curling forward in the spine. 5 times. And then you can take a little stretch there. And then we'll get ready for open leg rocker, which is our second rolling exercise. So you're going to find, again, you can start with those hands back behind the legs, stretch the legs up, rolling back on that inhale, exhale, come up, leave the legs extended. So this is what makes it different than rolling like a ball, is that those legs are reaching away from your center. If you want to make it more challenging, you could take the hands up higher on the legs. So you could grab up behind the calves, or you could even try and reach toward those toes. Doing that rolling back through the spine, legs are about that shoulder distance apart. We're going to do 5 to 8 of those. And then come up and find your balance, and we'll get ready for corkscrew. So hug the legs together. You're going to bring your hands underneath your hips. I'll show you 2 versions of corkscrew. So for the first one, your head is going to stay down, and you're going to draw alternating circles with both legs hugging together. That little pillow underneath your hips just helps as you're drawing those circles. That's our traditional corkscrew. The more advanced corkscrew is kind of a combination of your jackknife and the movement you just saw. So you're going to roll back like a jackknife, and then still hugging the legs together, roll down one side of the spine and then back up the other, and you'll reverse. So you'll alternate side to side. Those arms are pressing in. Upper half of the body is trying to stay glued down to the mat as you draw these nice big pendulum swings, circling those legs. Good. 5 total, whichever variation of corkscrew you like, and then come all the way up to seated for a saw. Whenever we're sitting up on our sits bones, it can be helpful to have a little bend in the knees, especially if you feel like your hamstrings are tight. So for saw, you're keeping those hips anchored down, arms extended out away from each other, and doing that nice big spinal rotation, trying to get your fingers to reach down toward those toes. You can also straighten out those legs if you feel like you're able to be up on those sits bones, sitting nice and tall. We're going to do 5 in each direction for saw. And then we're going to rotate after you've done 5 in each direction, and we're going to come to your stomach for swan dive. So I'm going to show you 3 different variations here. The first is kind of a traditional swan, hands underneath the shoulders. You're going to inhale, lift up the head and the chest, and then exhale back down. It's a gentle back bending movement, but you don't want to feel any pressure in your low back. You also don't want this movement to be just lifting your arms. Initiate that movement with your core and with your upper back. To do the swan dive, an assisted version, you're going to just lift the hands and then press in like you're rocking. You can also extend those arms overhead. So that's the most advanced version of swan dive. We're going to do 3, maybe 4 of those, and then sit back and take a child's pose. Anytime we do that extension, we'd like to follow it with a little bit of a child's pose just to stretch out the low back. And then we'll come back onto our stomachs, forearms down, hips down, bellies lifting for single leg kicks. In a half plank, you're going to kick 1 leg at a time, 2 kicks toward your backside, and then 2 on the other side by bending at that knee. You're trying to hold the rest of the body super still as you alternate 2 kicks on each side. More advanced, flex, point, point to come down. It's the same kicking motion. You're just going to add in a flex and a point with the foot. A little bit more of that mind-body connection that Joe was such a big fan of. 8 total each side, and then we're going to lay all the way flat on your stomach. Hands can come to your low back for double leg kicks. Your head will start turn to one side. 3 kicks with both feet together. Lift up the head and chest, extend, and then turn the head to the other side and 3 more kicks. So you're getting that nice big lifting up as you alternate your look side to side. You can do this with those arms stretching long at your sides, or a more advanced variety is by hooking the thumbs. So you get just a little bit more of that upper back stretch that way. Once you've done 3 each direction, go ahead and just sit back into that child's pose again. Take a nice little stretch. And then we'll come up to seated for neck pull. So you're going to hinge your body straight back and then roll your spine back down. A little bit of an easier variation of neck pull is to keep those knees bent. That flat back hinge, and then tuck the tail and roll the spine down. Inhale halfway up, exhale, stretch. Tall spine first to hinge, and then rolling down. That nice smooth coming all the way back up. You can also try this with a straight leg, which will be a little bit more advanced. Hinge back, tuck the tail, and roll the spine down. Just like a roll up as you come forward, that big stretch and rounding forward. Last one here. And then all the way back forward. Good. And then we'll get ready for scissors. So scissors, you're going to transition into it by doing that jackknife. Bring your hands under your hips. So your goal here is to shift your weight into those hands as much as you can, and then draw nice big straight leg scissors. That little double pulse. 3 on each side, each leg there, and go right from there into bicycle. So like you're riding a bicycle in the air. Again, making those movements as big as you feel like you can control. 3 bicycles in each direction. And then rotate your hands, fingers out, and we'll come down into a shoulder bridge in extension. If this is not comfortable, you can skip the extension part. You're going to point the toes, kick up, flex down. So we're going to do 3 kicks on one side and then 3 kicks on the other. The hands are there for support. And then bring the foot down, roll your spine back down. For just kind of a traditional shoulder bridge here, that articulating up through the spine, and exhale to roll back down. Feet are hip distance apart, arms are gently pressing in. You're really working on that spine articulation, trying to get as much movement through your spine as possible. Do 4 here, and then we're going to do our kicks. So you're going to flex up, point down this time. You can start on that left leg, and then switch, flex, and point. 3 on that right leg. Replace the foot, roll all the way back down, and then hug one knee in. Rock up to seated, and we'll get ready for spine twist. Sitting nice and tall, arms extended out. Again, that bent knee, if that helps keep you nice and tall. Twist, twist on one side, and then twist, twist on the other. You're trying not to move those hips. Legs straight would be a little bit more of a challenging variation. 3 in each direction. For jackknife. Coming from seated, you can use that momentum on the very first one to roll back and pike the legs up. And then roll back down. Leave your upper half of the body down this time. Legs out to that working level. You're going to roll back again. So it's a pike up. Nice smooth movement. If jackknife is too hard for you, you could try holding onto something overhead again, like a couch. Or you could try just doing a much smaller version. 3 to 5 jackknife. And then we'll get ready for some side leg kicks. You're going to lay on your side. Top leg's going to do 2 kicks forward and 2 kicks back. Your goal is to not move that upper half of the body all that much. 3 there. Good. That reach back behind you. And the last one. Good. And then same thing on the other side. So you're going to be on that elbow, head supported, top leg up to hip height, and that flex forward for 2. Point behind you for 2. Flex, flex, and point, point. Lots of work here not to sink in that bottom shoulder, but to stay lifted. We're going to do 5 sets there, and then turn to your back for teaser. So a few different variations of teaser here. We're going to roll up with the hands back behind the thighs. They'll get progressively difficult. Find the one that works for you, and you can stick with it. On this next one, you're going to roll up. You can lift those hands off if you want to try a more challenging version, and roll back down. So we'll do a few here without holding on, coming up into that seated V. And that lift. Good. Come from straight legs. So one straight line on the floor. Inhale to come all the way up, and exhale to roll back down. One more here. And then elbows down will transition into hip circles. Again, lifting out of those shoulders. Hip circles is basically a lifted version of corkscrew. It's a very challenging exercise. 3 sets in each direction with those legs hugging in toward one another. Good. And then come all the way back down. Take a little stretch for that low back. Let's transition onto your stomachs, and we'll do a little bit of our swimming. So arms straight overhead. You're going to inhale, lift up the arms, legs, head, and chest. Hold up there and do straight legs and straight arm flutter kicks. If you have really tight shoulders, feel free to take those arms kind of like a goalpost or out wider, and that should help. Swimming in Pilates, just like swimming in real life, is a good one not to do on a full stomach. You're going to try to stay up there for a count of 10 full breaths. And then sit back, as we always do after that extension, into a child's pose, and take some nice deep breaths. And then for our next move, you're going to be in a high plank for leg pull. So if being in a high plank is challenging enough, you could skip the leg movement and just do a plank or a plank on your forearms. If you want to add the movement, it's a point forward with that foot, flex, and then replace the leg. We're alternating legs, 3 on each side, And then to transition, one hand over, rotate the spine if you can, keep those hips lifted. We're gonna point the toes up, flex the heel down, keeping those hips as high as you can there. 3 on each. And then transitioning right into side kick kneeling. You're gonna be hand back behind the head, other hand right under the shoulder, trying to lift that leg as high as you can, even as high as hip height if you can get there. 3 there, and then just flip over to the other side. Flex, flex, point, point. 3 times. Good. We're going to go into side bends. So I'm going to flip back to that other side. Straighten out those legs. Top leg over in front of the bottom one. Top hand's going to rest. It's like a big mermaid movement, side bending over, and then exhale, come down. Your hip will just hover right above the floor. 3 times, getting as much of that arch and extension as you can. And then we'll do 3 times on that other side. If you want to make this exercise more challenging, you can stack the feet. So rather than having the top leg over, one foot would rest on top of the other one. Good. And then we'll get ready for boomerang. Boomerang's a really fun exercise composed of a bunch of other exercises. So you're going to sit tall and cross at the ankles. It starts looking like a jackknife. You're going to roll back, but then open and close the legs. Exhale, roll up into your teaser. Hold there, hands back behind you, hook the thumb, stretch the arms, reach around toward the ankles, and then stack back tall. Your ankles will be crossed opposite of what they were before, and you'll go into that next boomerang, finding that balance even just for a moment, stretching those shoulders, and then stacking back tall. So it's 3 full breaths. Inhale to roll back. Exhale, open, close the legs. Inhale up into that teaser. Exhale as you stretch those arms back. Inhale around to the ankles, and then exhale back tall. Good, that rolling through the spine. Open, close the legs, finding your balance, and then stretch, reaching nice and long, stacking tall. For the last one here. So your goal is to do 3 with each leg placement. So I was wrong. This is the last one. And then come all the way back up. Big stretch. Good. We're going to do seal. So for seal into crab, you want to make sure you have enough room behind you, but also enough room in front of you. Hands are through those legs, holding onto the ankles. You're going to do 3 claps of the feet and then roll back and do, if you can, 3 more claps overhead. So balancing on the sits bones and then balancing on your shoulders. This is a good exercise for the hips. That inhale as you roll back, exhale back up. Good, and then we'll transition. So we're going to roll back, cross the feet at the ankles, hold on to the tops of the feet, come up and over your knees. You're going to tap your head down, lift from the belly to roll back, rolling again, switch the cross of the ankles. A couple of tips here. If you don't cross the ankles very deep, like if you kind of cross them as shallow as possible, it's easier to bring your body up and over. And also using your core muscles to control as your head comes down to the floor will make it so that you don't feel like you're going to go crashing head first without your hands into the floor. So alternating there, we'll do 3 with each leg placement for the crab. And from crab, just let go of your hands there. Stretch the legs out behind you. We'll go into rocking. So rocking, you're going to reach back, and if you can, you're going to grab onto the tops of those feet. This might be enough of a stretch for you. Otherwise, you can try to push the feet into your hands and rock on your abdomen. 3 to 5 variations there. And then rather than doing a child's pose like we normally would, we're going to transition right into that control balance. So you're just going to turn onto your back, arms down beside you, and then it starts just like a jackknife again. So you're going to roll up. This time, balance on those shoulders. So you're going to take those legs as high as you can toward the ceiling without feeling like you're going to fall, and then rotate the arms back one at a time. If you want, you can add a little stretch, kicking one leg down at a time. That other leg is going to stay lifted to provide a counterbalance point. We're going to do 3 on each leg. And then there's a fancy transition up to standing. So those legs are going to stay lifted. Arms are going to rotate back down. Cross the legs at the ankles. Roll down, plant your feet. and twist all the way up to standing. We'll get ready for push-ups. So heels together, toes apart, arms up to the ceiling, a releve. You're going to lift the heels ever so slightly. Roll your spine down. If you need to bend the knees, you can. Walk out into that high plank. 3 push-ups here. Walk back in. You can also skip the push-ups if that is too much. Still that little lift of the heels, and you'll roll all the way back tall. Trying to keep your balance. We'll go into some one leg push-ups. So your foot's going to be flat. Opposite leg is going to extend back behind you. Roll your spine down and then walk forward. That back leg's just going to stay lifted. Again, 3 push-ups. Walking back in. Flat foot. Control that rolling back up and try to keep your balance. A little challenging there. Good. Also, your hair might be crazy at this point. And then last one here, switch to that other foot, roll down. Walk out into that high plank. 3 push-ups there. Keep that back leg lifted. Roll back in, walk back in. Roll your spine back up. Try to find your balance there. And then bring that leg back down. Wonderful. That was our 2020 March Madness. Thank you so much for playing along. To find more videos, visit us at YouTube or check us out at www.northwoodspilates.com.